everyone. I'm just waiting for a couple more people to join and then we will begin. I hope everyone is staying safe with what's been going on worldwide with this lockdown. Please share with as many people as you can, any groups that you belong to, because it would be great if we could get as many people watching and sharing this fabulous clay. It's also great, you know, it's something to do being, you know, everybody's stuck at home, or at least some people are. And Easter is just around the corner, so it's a great little craft to do for Easter. So share with any groups you may be in. Alright, I'm going to talk a little bit about the clay. As I mentioned before, I would absolutely love if you could share the link. I would absolutely love if you could share the link with your friends, with craft groups you might belong in. If you have a crafty page, it would be great if you could share it with as many people as possible. Because today we're going to be making this cute little Easter bunny ornament. He's adorable. I'm doing a full live demo, so it's going to be a little bit longer than usual. So we'll start with that in just a minute. For those of you who aren't familiar with buying Paperclay, this is the brand here. It's Creative Paperclay. It's an air dry clay. It dries very hard, and it's also very light. It's easy to work with. It's very soft, so if you have arthritic hands, it's a great clay to work with. It holds detail well. And we also carry another product called Delight Clay. This is a much softer clay. It's very marshmallow-like. Let me see if I have an open one here. As you can see, I keep my clay in a box once it's open. This the seal helps to prevent the clay from drying out. So this is the Delight Clay here, for those of you who aren't familiar with it. And it's nice and soft. It's like marshmallow texture is probably the best way that I would describe it. It's great for sculpting. It's also great for embellishments. I use it to make a lot of embellishments, particularly with molds, because it takes the form of any shape very easily. It holds all the detail, and it remains light, and it also remains flexible once it's dry. So like if you're decorating a jar, for instance, or a bottle, and you make some flowers and you want to wrap it like a little bit around the bottle, it dries flexible, so you can definitely do that. But just to show you, this is how soft the Delight Clay is. And today we're going to be giving away a pack of the Delight Clay. That will be our free giveaway today. During the live show, you have to say, "I want to win." So you have to go ahead and type that in the comment section for a chance to win a free pack of the Delight clay, which is this nice soft clay right here. For this project today, however, we will be using the Creative Paperclay. I use that one more for like my art doll type sculptures and stuff. So I have an open pack here. I'm going to go ahead and take out and start with that one. You will not need the full 16 ounce one. There's also an 8 ounce one you can get for this project if you don't already have clay on hand. But we'll be using this one today. So remember, if you want to win the Delight clay, you have to say I want to win, and you must be live to do that, and type that in the comment section for a chance to win a package of Delight clay, and we'll get your information and stuff from you with a private message. Don't put that in the comment section. Okay, well, let me gather my stuff here and we can get started making this cute little Easter bunny. For those of you who are new to sculpting, one thing about using air dry clays, or at least Creative Paperclay, is that you have to have an armature, which basically is the skeleton of the sculpture. It's what's inside and holding it together, so to speak. So to make the armature, I'm going to use foil, just regular foil, kitchen foil. To make it a bit weighty, I'm going to put this in it. This is just cat litter in a little bag. It's just to weight down because, you know, depending how you bend the ears, you don't want it to be off balance and topple forward or backward, because the weight of the ear might pull it a bit forward. Other things you could use are rice in a little bag, or little stones, or even just one stone, a bigger stone. Sand, of course, is a popular one, or anything really, just a little weight. Like I said, this is cat litter, and it's really a small amount because the sculpture is very tiny. So we're going to also need our glue gun. Let me go ahead and plug that in. It just helps when you are making the armature to just keep the foil in place, depending, of course, where you are going to be sticking it. Other thing we'll need for the armature is 2 pieces of 6-inch wire, and we're just going to fold them like that. And we're going to use these for the ears. So they're about 6 inches, maybe 5 to 6 inches. It's not an exact science. I mean, it just depends how big you make your head and everything. You kind of have to just estimate how big your ears will be. Or if you want a big floppy-eared bunny, that would actually be cute as well. You can just make that bigger. And I do believe that's all we need to make our armature. Pliers are handy, of course, for bending your wire, and also a good thing to do always when using wire so it doesn't slip out is you can easily bend up your edges like that as well if you like. That's like a preventative thing when you're using wire in armatures, because what happens when it goes down, it hooks when it's coming out rather than just slipping right out. So I always do it. Now you can make your ears as large as you like, as floppy as you like, as pointy as you like. It's up to you. You can have them one bent over, you can have them straight in the air. Just make it your own. Of course, you can copy exactly what I do. That's not a problem either. So let's begin with our bag of clay and some foil. Remember to share this live demo on your pages or groups that you belong to. Alright, so the first thing we're going to do is put your bag of cat litter or sand, whatever you're using, and we're just gonna begin to wrap that up and form the shape of the head. We want the bottom flat, so you'll find that I do that sometimes just to make sure, because it has to stand up. So, and you know, if you look at the shape, you can see there that it's beginning to take form there. So I'm going to go ahead and add more foil again, make it a little higher this time. This should probably be good for the basic shape. We can add it as we go along. And then once we have that shape, we're going to use something like this is a piercing tool. Skewer would be fine. And we're just going to use that to help, you know, just pierce the holes in the foil where we're going to put the bunny ears. So you can decide that, okay, and you can mark it if it's easier for you. They're about that much apart, so we definitely want a hole here and a hole here. And that will be our first one. And then we're just going to go ahead and push those in. And these, of course, will be the bunny ears. If they're not perfectly in, don't worry about it. We are putting clay on it, remember, so. Alright, so our next ear is going to be about here. So we just put the 2 holes there. At this point, you can decide how you want your ears. If you want them thick, thin, that's up to you. What you can do also is just use a little hot glue just to ensure that it's in place. That way you're sure that it stays in place. So there we go. I'm gonna let that cool for a bit so I don't burn myself. And next thing we're gonna do is to grab another bit of foil. We probably only need about half of this. So you can go ahead and rip it or cut it with the scissors, whatever works for you. I'm just gonna rip it. And then we rip this in half again. And we are going to use this to cover the ear. So we're just going to wrap this around the ear. And then you can see the shape of the bunny ears starting to form there. And we're going to do the same for the other side. Anytime you want a part that bends like ears in a sculpture, wire and foil is a good option. Another option would be mesh wire, which is like a chicken wire in a sense, but with a much smaller grid. That's also great for forming the ears. And I'm just gonna secure this a bit with the hot glue as I go along, just so it doesn't slip off. And be careful that you don't burn yourself like I always do. At this point, you can shape your ears. So if you want them more narrow, or if you want them, you know, bent over like that, this is a good time to do it. So you can just use your finger and just gently bend that tip if you want to. You can do it fully down like that. That's cute. That will give him a, you know, cute little look. So what we're going to do now is we're just going to add some cheeks. So once again, we just need a bit of the foil. This one will do. And we're just going to build out the face a little bit, because if you can see in this one, his cheeks come out more. So, just going to roll it into a ball. You just have to kind of play with this, adding, subtracting, until you get it exactly how you want it. You can also do this with the clay, like if you do a first layer of clay just to cover it and then go ahead and add details, you can do that as well. I just find it easier to get as much done as I can with the armature before I start to cover. So that will be one cheek, and then we'll stick on another cheek here. And then we're just going to give a little area for the little nose part that comes out. So just another small bit of foil again. This will be the snout area. As I said before, we can go ahead and enhance all of these areas after we put on our first layer of clay. You don't have to get everything perfect right now. So I think that's good. Our little shape here, as you can see, is starting to take form. So let me just wait 30 seconds or so for that glue to set. Just bang it down, just to make sure that it stands okay and it's not crooked in any way. Just rock it back and forth a bit. And there we go. Press anything down to make sure everything is nice and secure. Alright, let me unplug my glue gun and get that out of the way so I don't burn myself. And move that aside, and what we are going to do now is we're start adding our clay. Now creative paper clay sticks okay to the aluminum foil. However, you can also use some diluted white glue. That also helps to make sure that it's stuck on properly. It's not absolutely necessary, it's just a good tip. Once you have a non-porous surface, this is rough, so I'm not too bothered, it will stick into it, but like say you're covering a glass jar or something like that, I would recommend you use some diluted white glue, regular white PVA glue, and give it a coat first before applying your clay. But I'm going to go ahead and stick the clay directly on this because it's textured, so I'm not too bothered. So here's my clay. I'm going to take off some. I wrap it back up when I'm not using it. Again, I'm going to put it in my box, or if you have your Ziploc bag to keep it nice and moist. That's up to you. Let's just put that there. I'm not going to fully close it yet. And just break off bits of clay, and you start just pushing it on like that. Some people work in sheets of clay, like they'll roll it out and then add a sheet, which is fine as well. But I actually prefer this because I push down everywhere when I do it like this, and that makes sure that there are no air bubbles trapped underneath. Because if you have an air bubble, you can end up with a nice big crack, or the clay just not sticking properly to your armature. So we just go ahead and cover the entire thing. and you'll soon see the bunny start coming to life. You'll soon see the shape. It's kind of hard to see with the foil, especially with the lights because of the glare. Once the clay is on, you'll see the little bunny face starting to pop out there. It's a good idea also that when you're sculpting to just kind of, you know, work in a small area at a time and just smooth as you go along. It saves time later on. Just get fluff out the way. I'm sure you can start to see that bunny face coming out now. We also have a blog, creativepaperclay.blogspot.com. There are loads of great tutorials on that blog. I'm sure there are quite a few Easter ones if you want to, you know, make some nice decor. I always prefer to make my ornaments rather than buy. I think it just makes the holiday that much more special. I used to make a lot more of them when my children were small. That's actually how I got into sculpting and how I discovered creative paper clay. So now you can see our bunny starting to take form here. So I'm just going to go ahead and work quickly and cover the rest, and then going to smooth in so I can just show you how I do that also. I do have another one that I've done already that's already dry, so we don't have to wait on this to dry. Okay, that could take a while. You can dry creative paper clay in a low oven around 200 degrees for like about 20 minutes and it would probably dry. Something like this. That of course depends on what you use as the armature. It's foil, so that's fine. If it were styrofoam, I'm not quite sure if you would want to put styrofoam in an oven. I don't know at what point it starts to release, you know, chemicals and stuff. So once it's styrofoam, I tend to stay away from the oven. When you're doing the airs, you have to be very careful in this area, just at the edges there, not to rub too hard. It tends to fall off. So you can just go a bit slower right there to get those edges covered. Remember to say I want to win if you want a chance to win a package of the Delight clay. You have to say it while it's live in the comment section. Once the live feed is done, we'll be no longer taking any entries for that. So be sure to say I want to win while it is live here on Creative Paper Clay's web page, Facebook page rather. So you need to be live on Creative Paper Clay's Facebook page and say I want to win, and that will give you a chance of winning a free package of Delight clay. Let me just get more clay here. We also have all the past videos of Clay Talk that we have been doing. I think we started it in August of last year. I can't believe it's been almost a year already. And they're all on Creative Paperclay's Facebook page under videos. So if you missed any of those, there's some great episodes with tips on working with the clay, from armatures to sanding. There are quite a few on there, as well as other live demos. So take a look at those. They'll always be there, and you'll find some valuable information on working with the clay. And also, as I said before, our blog is creativepaperclay.blogspot.com. There are loads of tutorials in all areas working with Creative Paperclay and Delight Clay. Alright, we're almost finished now, and then I'll move into the smoothing. And then we'll set this little guy aside to dry, and I will show you how to paint it on the other one that I made. If your fingers get tired, or your thumbs, you can always use your sculpting tools for these areas. I find that once the area is smaller, a sculpting tool helps to just press down that clay nicely right there. And it gives my thumbs a break. So there you go. You can start to see now Mr. Bunny here is quite starting to look quite cute. We just have to fix up his ears a bit and maybe give him a bit more of a nose, which we'll do in just a minute. Let me just get this fully covered. And just take off any excess when you're smoothing. Alright, now it's time to start smoothing this little guy, I think. Let me just fix right here on his ear. And we'll start to smooth and shape those ears a bit more. And add a nose. Add more of a nose, rather. The nose is there, but it's not that prominent. And I like when his little nose pokes out more. See, he's looking quite cute. So if you want a bigger nose like I do, just add a little bit more clay to this area. Because the clay is wet, we don't need to add any water or diluted glue. If you let this dry first and then came back and added the clay, you would need to add a little bit of diluted PVA glue just to make sure that the clay sticks on there properly. And then you can just use your tool or your finger just to get that nice and smooth and to join that area. Now the more work you do now is the less work you'll have later, meaning it makes sense to just go through and smooth as much as you can right now, so that when your sculpture is dry you won't have to worry too much about sanding. So if you can get it done now, it's Another tip, of course, as you can see I'm dipping my finger in a bit of water to help smooth. That being said, you don't want to add too much water. You don't want your clay to get wet and slippery. And also, if you add too much water, you're going to end up with cracks later on. But that's easy to fix, actually. I did a show once it's on our Facebook page, a video, a clay talk show, talking about cracks in paper clay and how to fix them. So you can check that out. So we're just going to continue smoothing. I won't bore you to death smoothing, so I'm just going to put this aside for now, and I'm going to just go right into painting the sculpture. Alright, I have this little guy. He's dry, he's been sanded, and he's been gessoed. I've also been playing around, adding details to his face, kind of deciding how I want it. So once this is dry, like I said, just sand it if need be, fix any cracks if need be, and then just give it a coat of gesso before we get started with the painting. Now the colors I use, let me actually just put away this clay before I start so it doesn't dry out. The colors I used for painting are a nice, there we go, it's an antique white. I also used a white acrylic for the eyes and the black acrylic also for the eyes. And then when it was dry, I did a little glazing with some gray and some glazing medium. So I also used this pink paint for the nose and in the ears. And a Posca marker can also be used for this little spot and that spot if you don't want to use a fine detail brush. It's up to you, really. So to begin painting, of course you need your paintbrushes and your paint and a palette. I'm just going to use right here and just put out a little paint. And go ahead and give it a full coat. You might need more than one coat depending on how pigmented your paints are. This is a craft paint, so I will probably need more than one coat. So remember, if you want a chance to win the package of Delight Clay, you need to type "I want to win" in the comment section. Now if you've drawn your face before, it's up to you if you want to go over it or if you want to try keep it as much as possible. The pencil will bleed a little in the paint, but we're doing 2 coats, so I'm not too bothered about that. So I'm going to cover the entire bunny and dry it and then cover it again, because as you can see I'm going to definitely need another coat with the craft paint. Like I said, that depends on the paint you're using and how pigmented it is. I'm just going to move this aside so I don't get any paint on it. Okay, he's finished and he's quite cute. If you're impatient like me, a heat gun will be handy, or a hair dryer, so you can dry it quickly. I'm going to go ahead and dry it a bit here, because I can't move my fingers. Alright, so I'm just going to quickly give it another coat in those areas that are dry already. And that should be good enough. I'm trying to maintain that eye as much as possible. I'm drying as I go along so I can hold the piece as I move it around. Make sure you get down in between those airs. That's an easy spot to miss along those edges. And I think I might have him fully covered now. That's our first layer of paint. Next we're gonna add some details. And then we will do the glaze. Alright, that's great. I think he's good now. Let me put my brush in my water. One last try and I will put back those eyes and stuff. Alright, so now we need our pencil. And what we're going to do is just to add back, well, we need to add these, I don't know what part this is called, but we're this pink part in the bunny ear. So I'm just roughly sketching in that very loosely. So I'm going to paint that pink. And also I'm just going to draw back those eyes that I lost. Okay, while drawing these eyes, this is the point where you can determine whether you want your bunny to be looking to the side, or looking up, or looking down. That's up to you. I like when mine looks to the side. I think it gives him more character. So you can do him looking like that. And then this area, of course, will be dark. And that area will be white. And you can also just pencil in the little mouth hair. If we mess up, it's not a big deal. Remember, it's acrylic paint, so we can always just go over it if it won't erase. And what I think will be cute right here as well is if you give him a little tooth. Or if you want it to be 2 teeth. You like that? That's cute. So as I said, if you mess up and it won't erase, it's not a big deal. We just go over that area again. A couple layers of paint and that will disappear. So I will do that right now just to show you how easy it is. Just grab a small brush and then we're just gonna go over that area wherever you think needs to be corrected. Alright, so the next color of paint that we're going to use is the black paint to put in those eyes. We have our white paint, or if you don't want to use paint, you can use a Posca marker, which is just acrylic paint in a marker form. And we also have our pink paint for the ears. So I actually think I'm going to start with the ears and work down. That way I don't mess up. This one is almost finished, so I'm just going to try to get some out here. That should be enough for now. Let me stand it upside down. Alright, so we just grab our paint. And we just go ahead and fill in those ears. Once again, this is craft paint, so I am probably going to give it more than 1 coat. That's just how craft paints are usually. They're less pigmented, and that's why they are so much cheaper than artists' professional paints. So the detail work probably takes as much time, if not more, than doing the entire bunny, because you really have to be careful to stay in those lines. I'm not bothered about the lines showing when I've painted, because I will go back around the area with a charcoal pencil, or if you have like a soft, like you'd say 6B or 8B pencil, just to give it a little shadow. It helps the area to pop out. So I'm not too bothered that that line is still visible. We'll also just paint the nose, being we have the pink on our paintbrush. He is starting to look quite cute. Alright, I'm going to dry this and then give it another coat. That looks good in the ears now. I'll switch to a bigger brush for the nose. There we go. That's our ears and our nose. When you're using detail brushes like this, by the way, don't leave them standing in your water because the ends will become bent and then they won't be very good at doing your detail anymore. Fix right here. Looks a bit lumpy. Alright, we'll move on to the eyes next. I'm just gonna use the lid actually, because I just need such a little bit. Make sure all that water is out your paintbrush so it doesn't blot. And then we just go in there and paint in those eyes. When we add the white, it will you'll definitely see how cute he is. Just gonna make this area a little bit rounder right here. And as I said before, this is acrylic paint, so if you mess up, it's not a big deal. You can wipe it off with a wet wipe. You can also just let it dry fully and then go back over it with the antique white. I have a little antique white left right here. Actually, no, it's dry. I have a little spot right there. I'll fix that after. Let's let that dry, and then we'll move on to our white. Just give that a shake. And I see a couple areas I need to just touch up with the antique white, so I'm just going to go ahead and do that now. There's an area right here that we missed before. And then there's also here some pink got on there that I didn't know about. So there you go. That's how easy it is to touch up. It's really not hard at all. Okay, so here comes the part now where you need a very steady hand, or if you have an acrylic marker that's a fine tip, it would definitely be useful in this section. Make sure there's no water coming down in your brush, and just go ahead and paint in the white of your eye. You may have to go back over the black a bit after you've done this. It really isn't a big deal though. I tend to go back and forth a lot sometimes until I have it exactly how I want it. It's very hard because it you know, it's just fine details, so you find that unless you use a super tiny brush, which I don't have my hands on right now, you just have to go over it a couple times. And then also the teeth right here. This area here, we're going to use a black permanent marker, like a Sharpie, to just go over because it's just so much easier. You can also use paint, of course. So that will be the teeth area, and then we go over this area one more time, then I'll fix the black. So let me just fix here. And I'm just going to dry that, and then I'll fix the black area. Of course, you could do it the other way and do the white first and then add the black. That probably would have made more sense. But this part really is just a lot of back and forth. For this, like I said before, you can either use a black paint or you can use a Sharpie marker. That's up to you. So let me just go ahead and fix the black area. Make sure you don't have too much paint on your paintbrush. I swear when you're doing this part, it's almost as if you're holding your breath while you're just painting that line. And hoping it goes okay. There we go, we're looking much better now. Let me just, one more. Oh, that looks good. Just fix his area here. And I think we're good. He's really coming to life now. He has a little naughty face, which is quite cute. One last bit here. Alright, great. Now, the next step is we are just gonna, we have the white out. We're just gonna add that little flicker of light in his eye. For me, the easiest way to do that is to use a toothpick. and just dip it in the white paint and just gently just put that there. And that just gives him his little sparkle. We of course forgot to add eyebrows, so we just give him some eyebrows here. And in adding the eyebrows, I can see an area where it needs a bit more paint right here. So I'm gonna go ahead and just paint over that area and do that eyebrow again. That's how it is when you're doing the details. You go back and forth a bit until you get it exactly how you want it, and you see other stuff as you go along that you didn't see before. Like, there we go. So I'll just cover that little spot right, and then let's do that eyebrow again. Alright, great. So he's looking quite cute now. The next stage is that we're gonna just paint that. As I said before, you can use your permanent marker if you like as well. It's up to you. I think I'm gonna attempt to paint it with a fine brush. Let me see if I have a finer brush. Okay, I found a super fine one. Let's see if this one works. Oh, see, the edges are frayed. That's the problem I run into with fine brushes. Most of my fine brushes right now need replacing. So when you find your brush, or if not, you can use a Sharpie for this, you can just go ahead and just paint that little mouth area. I think I'm gonna have to squirt out some paint. There we go. And then we can do the other side. Okay, that wasn't as bad as I thought it would be. See, once you have a good brush, it makes a world of a difference. If you're gonna do sculptures like this, it makes sense to invest in a good set of brushes. Alright, so the next stage is going to be applying our glaze. So for that, I'm doing this before the permanent marker. Actually, we could do the permanent marker first. It really doesn't matter. If you're using like a spray varnish, I find that when you do the permanent marker first, it tends to bleed. So let's just go ahead and add the rest of the details, and then we'll give it the varnish. So there we go, there's our eyebrow. So this is it's called Identipen. It's just like a Sharpie really. So what I'm gonna do is just give him his eyebrows like that. Sometimes with the markers it's hard to write on the surface if it's not completely smooth. And I'm also just gonna go around those pupils. Just clean up the edges a bit. And I'm also just gonna add some little dots as if there were whiskers there. And as you can see, he's starting to look quite cute. Alright, so let's mix our glaze, and then we will add the cheeks and stuff last before we spray it with varnish. I don't want to add the cheeks now because we're going to be using a chalk pastel and I'll be painting on the varnish, so it will smudge right off because it needs to be fixed. So to mix the varnish, you're going to need a glazing medium. I use the golden acrylic glazing liquid in satin. They have it, I think, they probably have matte, I'm not sure, but I know for sure that they also have the glossy one. I find the glossy a bit too glossy, but that's just a personal thing. It's up to you what you like. So I'm just gonna add just a little bit of that. It's not a big sculpture, so it's great, and just a little bit of the gray paint. I don't want it too dark, it's just to stain it and give it this nice you know, vintagey type look, because I don't like when paint is too flat. Of course it will, you know, stain the eyes and stuff. You might have to go back over the white area and the teeth. It's up to you what kind of look you're going for. So we mix that up like that. To do this part also, you need to have a paper towel handy or a cloth that you don't mind wiping all of this over. So I have my paper towel here, and what we're going to do is just go over it, the entire thing. I know you feel like shrieking right now, but we're going to wipe it back off. If you're doing a bigger sculpture, it's a good idea to work in areas rather than doing everything all at once. I am gonna just do the front and then wipe it off and do the back. So we've covered everything on the front now. So we just get our paper towel and we can just wipe it back off. It just gives it a nice, you know, it just doesn't look as flat. It goes down into any little crevices that there might be. I like the look, but as I said, it's not necessary. You can skip this part if you want to. If you don't have the glazing medium, you can also dilute paint, like very, very dilute, and try painting that over. That helps give you this type of effect also. Another tip right here is if you have an area that's just too dark because you left it on too long in that area, or for some reason that area just, you know, absorbed the paint more, you can use a damp paper towel to wipe it off, or also a wet wipe. So I'm just going to quickly do the back. And then we are going to finish up with the details. So we should be finished in another 5 to 10 minutes at the most. So once again, we're just going to wipe it off. And it stays in all of those crevices. Okay, great. I'm just going to give it a quick dry. And once that's dry, we can go in and just add details now, and then we'll be all finished. So a charcoal pencil or a soft dark pencil, like a drawing pencil, could work for this. And you just go around areas that you want to highlight. It makes it pop out more. And when you spray it, when you're finished, it will seal all of this. I'm just adding back that area right there. I don't think it was fully dry when I varnished it. So let me just go over that quickly. See, a permanent marker is great for that stuff. You can soften the charcoal with your finger if the line is too harsh, or you can also use another paintbrush, like a dry paintbrush, and just soften it like this, and that just blends it away. So our last thing to do is I'm just going to use these chalk pastels that I have, and I'm going to grab my pink and just give him some cheeks. And my blue, and just give him a little eyeshadow right there, a little color to the eyes. And that's it. He's all done. You can now spray him with your varnish. It will seal the charcoal and all the chalk. And you're finished. And that's your cute little Easter bunny ornament. I hope you enjoyed the tutorial. You can also add like a ribbon on the ear if you want to make it a girl. That would be cute. So did somebody win the pack of clay? I hope somebody was lucky enough to win the pack of delight clay. As I said before, we have many videos on our Facebook page under the video section of past clay talks, as well as some tutorials. We also have a blog, creativepaperclay.blogspot.com. So have a look on that as well for more tutorials. And I have finished. I am just see, did anybody win the clay? Did we have a lucky winner today for that clay? Did anybody say I want to win during the live presentation? If you have any ideas that you'd like for the show, you can let us know. You can leave a comment below. We'll be happy to try and facilitate you. And just give us, just leave the ideas there and we'll try. If there is nothing else, I think we will wrap it up. We have been on for quite some time. This was a very long show, but that's how it is with live demos. I do hope you enjoyed it, and I hope to see you again next month. You can see the live broadcast. Video of the live broadcast will be right here on our Facebook page, Creative Paperclay Modeling Material, in the video section. So if you want to watch it again while you're sculpting your own bunny, everything is there. So it would be it's there, so go ahead and watch it again, and you can share the video also if you want to share it and have a craft watching party making your Easter decorations. That would be a fantastic idea. So if there are any questions, I'll be happy to answer them now. If not, just you think of something later on, leave it in the comment section and someone will definitely get back to you, and will try and help you as best as you can. Thank you so much for watching, and I look forward to seeing you again next month for Clay Talk. We are the first Thursday of each month, and we start at 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific time. So until then, stay safe, and I will see you next month.